a press conference from the New South Wales Premier Chris Minns in about 15 minutes or so. But let's get started with our results so far this weekend. Of course, last night the Sharks, they got the win over the Bunnies, the Eels with the win over the Cowboys, the Warriors and the Seagulls. What a thriller that one was, playing out a Golden Point draw. The Broncos with the dominant display over the Dolphins. The Storm just getting the win over the Bulldogs, and then on Thursday night the Roosters getting the win over the Newcastle Knights. And then today we've got the Tigers coming up against the Dragons. All that action live from 3 p.m. Let's have a look at the ladder, Bill. How's it taking shape?
It's the Sharks that are sitting on top of the ladder, equal first with the Melbourne Storm on 10 points. And look, it's obviously congested early in the season, but a huge game this afternoon. The Dragons and the Tigers both sitting outside the 8. They can push their way up to that sort of line just underneath the 8th spot there if they win today. So a lot of pressure coming off with a victory. The Titans still winless, sitting down the bottom with the Rabbitohs.
It has been some tough times for the Rabbitohs. Another loss last night, going down to the Cronulla Sharks. A lot of the discussion this week has been about Jason Demetriou's future. So let's take a listen to what he had to say post-match last night.
I think, there was a fair bit of carnage out there, and we'd one interchange for, over half a game and lost a winger and a fullback for 15 minutes. And to drag ourselves to 28-22, we maintain that fight. We're going to win a lot more games than we lose, that's for sure.
Are you expecting that you'll still be the coach?
I expect so, yeah. Nobody's told me otherwise, so we'll review the game, turn up. If not, we'll find out. Don't get me wrong, you don't want to be going through this, but the reality is it's elite sport. We're a huge club, but I won't walk around with my head down. I've got no reason to. I've worked my backside off to get into this position as the head coach of one of the biggest rugby league clubs in the world. I'm really proud that I get to represent these boys, our fans, our members, our staff, and I'm excited about turning it around. If that changes, time will tell.
A defiant Jason Demetriou there. South Sydney last night, they showed plenty of effort in their performance, pretty gritty. Unfortunately, though, another loss for them. What is the latest with Jason Demetriou's future?
I spoke to Blake Solly, the South CEO, this morning before coming on air. He says there's no meeting, there's no review. He referred me to the comments from Nick Pappas, the chairman, last week, and said if the team put in and showed determination and put in a stronger performance, then there'd be no need to pull the trigger on Jason Demetriou, and that's the case. I think it's bought him more time, and I think it's bought the club more time to work out who a possible coach could be. They've got, obviously, the bye, and then they've got Storm Penrith. The interesting thing for me is that Russell Crowe, the heartbeat of the club, the co-owner, who's been there since 2006. He's back in the country after shooting a film in Budapest, as you do, and that's going to be a very interesting situation with him coming back. The biggest story for me at South isn't Jason Demetriou. It's actually the power play that's going on behind the scenes. I think they can deny it all they want, but Russell Crowe is definitely eyeing off the possibility of Wayne Bennett. I think he's looking at the possibility of Shane Richardson, who used to be their head of football, coming back as well. And if that happens, then there'll be factions at that club on that board who will push back on Russell.
So is it a case now that he has bought more time? They, as you mentioned, have the bye. Then they have some pretty big matches as well. Is it the next time they have a big loss, if that's to happen, is that that's going to start
to get the ball rolling for sure. I've got no doubt that if South had been lapped last night, and if they obviously had all those injuries in the first half, if they didn't show what they showed last night, then Jason Demetriou will probably be clearing at his desk as we speak.
The power struggle between the board and Russell, who wins? It's
an interesting one, Joey, because Russell was the 75% owner of that club, and then he's let Mike Cannon-Brooks in and obviously let James Packer in. I'm told that those two, their board representatives are having more of a say. They used to just defer to Russell and say whatever Russell wants. Then there's the other 25%, which is the members, which is chaired by Nick Pappas, who's been around forever. So everyone was sort of rowing in the one direction there a couple of years ago, but as always happens with a losing football team, all the factions start having their say. The other thing is there's other factions outside of that tip in a lot of money to South Sydney. And I've got no doubt that that's where the approach to Mal Meninga as a possible caretaker came last week. But it's all very destabilising.
They put money in the club.
Well, they're benefactors. A lot of the big clubs have big name sponsors or just figures in the background putting in money to help them.
Helping.
And, and every club would have it, the big clubs in particular, but you just don't hear from them. And the good clubs you don't hear from. But there's definitely... You talk to South about... The Meninga thing to me says everything. You talk to South, they say absolutely no one within the four walls of South made that approach to Mal Meninga. But you talk to Mal and someone certainly did that's connected with South.
You say the big clubs don't say anything. There's been a lot of noise around South Sydney and it's clearly affecting their coach, it's affecting their playing group, the attention that they're getting. There hasn't been an official statement made by South Sydney. Do you think that they need a voice and they need to come out and say, well, we're supporting our coach, he's not going anywhere, or we are looking at our options?
Nick Pappas, the chairman, made some comments, pretty cliched comments to members of the press last week, but it wasn't a statement, you're right, from the club. I think they could have come out and nailed it a bit sooner, but yeah, it's very un-South Sydney-like for so much of the noise that's come out in the last 7 days. The thing that I thought was a real issue was the stuff's getting leaked out from video sessions, which to me is always dangerous. Like if you're
that was happening last year.
It was happening last year too, but you know, you guys know better than me. Like, isn't that the place where you have honest conversations in a video session? And to say that's symbolic of what's going on in the club, I think's dangerous. The fact that it got out, I think, is the bigger concern.
So in a month's time, what's happening at South?
Well, it depends on what happens with performances.
In your opinion, what do you think will be
they go
happening?
by-
I've got no doubt that there's a big push for Bennett to come back.
So they go by and then they go Storm and Penrith.
Yes. Yeah.
So really-
And if they get lapped by those two teams, then it's going to be... to be honest, I can't see Jason Demetriou surviving. I just think a big club with South needs a big-name coach. You've got Wayne in the background saying he's not interested but telling others that he is, and people talking to him on behalf of the club. I would still be surprised if Wayne wasn't there next year. I don't think Sam Burgess. I don't think there's an appetite for Sam to come back straight away, but maybe down the track.
Would you say that there needs to be a rebuild at South?
In terms of the club structure?
Well, everything. Roster.
You guys would know better than
This
me.
guy on screen, Bill.
Well, that's the next question.
But I don't think...
Does Wayne want to be a part of a rebuild?
But this
I don't
guy
think
on
they
screen,
need a rebuild, do they? They have some pretty
he
quality
rebuilds quicker than anyone.
That's
and he
right.
rebuilds through their personality, through their connection.
Their salary cap.
Look what we've done with the Dolphins.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're short of forwards. Have they got cap space to go out and buy a couple of
I think they've got some
world-class
young
forwards?
blokes. I think Mambazula showed last night that he should probably
But they're getting
start,
rolled
but-
in the
Do
middle.
you-
If you get
see that
the
there's
best out of
need?
Latrell, Cody, Damien Cook, Cam Murray, there's enough quality
But
in
that's
that
not
squad.
That's not in the forward pack. You get
Yeah.
There's enough good players there.
Yeah,
though.
The big thing
You
with-
look at Melbourne, some of Melbourne's forward packs at different stages, and you think, you know, like what's happening here? But simplify their job and get them not making mistakes. And they've always played a simple game, South Sydney.
But don't you think Bennett can unlock Latrell? Bennett can get Latrell going. He did it before, and I think he could do it again.
He manages Latrell very well.
He does.
But what
So do you think that's the big plus? Getting a coach who can unlock Latrell.
I do. And I also think that Wayne will want to do it. Wayne loves the romance of... He's driven... I don't know if I said this on this show before, but he's driven by being the first coach in history to win 3 premierships at 3 different clubs. No one's ever done that in the history of the game, and Wayne's very keen on cementing his place in history if it's not there already. So the other question is, who else is there? Like, who else could coach? I think everyone talks about there being a lack of halfbacks in the game. I reckon the bigger problem is the lack of coaches, because clubs have just churned through so many of them.
Billy,
Yes.
you interested?
No.
What does this do for the playing group, though? It feels like there's a lot of instability at the club, and knowing that your coach is really walking a fine line for the next bad performance, what does that do for the playing group and the team?
It just adds pressure, doesn't it?
Just adds pressure.
And you're playing for the wrong reasons. Like, you start playing for results, and like your mind's not concentrating on the little effort things in the game. You know, we all know what builds performances, and you know, when you've got this pressure hanging over your head, that results are going to determine what happens to my position, and like the noise just gets too loud.
Do you think Wayne and Mal could coach together?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think Mal's more worried about keeping the Australian job.
I think
I think as soon as Mal realised last week that he couldn't do both, that was the end.
And
That was the end of the conversation.
Wayne likes to take his own people, conditioners, all that. Would that happen?
I think if he came, he wanted football clean out of the football department. It's a bit different.
So it is a rebuild.
Well, it would be in terms of the football department, not in terms of so much of the roster. I don't think.
Wayne and Sam Burgess could work.
Man, you can't just clean out a roster. I mean, there's contracts galore.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're talking more the coaching staff.
They're short of forwards. How are they going to go out and buy some forwards if they've got no cap space?
Yeah, but you got some young, like Davy Moali,
Yeah.
blokes like that.
Tom Burgess is playing well.
Tom's gone next year. He's retiring.
Jai Arrow will be back. There's enough there, like Keon. There's some good quality in amongst it. Like, surely you've got to go and get a couple of front rowers.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but, at the end of the day, I think we were saying before, like, it's about unlocking Latrell, and if you're going to stick with Latrell and Cody and all those blokes, and, it's, there's enough good players there to do a job for them to win games.
Warrington have said they won't release Sam.
So when do you see Sam potentially coming back in 2 years?
I think it depends on when, if Wayne takes over next year, but there's no secret that those two are very close. But I don't think I think that'd be the real pushback from certain people at the board if Sam was part of the deal with Sam coming back straight away. But I don't think that's happening. I think Sam sort of indicated he doesn't want to come back straight away.
What about the players and Sam Burgess?
I think that's a bigger
fracture
problem.
there?
Yeah, I think that'll be the problem. The way that he left at the end of last season and how he was unhappy with certain players getting preferential treatment, I don't think he could walk straight back into that football club without some pretty serious conversations.
As in, you'd expect someone else to come in, Wayne to
appoint his own assistant coach. Remember, it was Wayne who, when he got the job at South Sydney, who said Jason Demetriou should be his successor. So it was Wayne who wanted him. Wanted him there.
How come you reckon no one performs as a coach after Wayne? Why is that?
I've got a few theories on it. I think Wayne loved to play good cop, bad cop with his assistant coaches. He used to do it with Bellyache at Brisbane for... You talk to those Brisbane blokes, he would ridicule him in front of the other players, but Bellyache would cop it. Like, he's such a professional because he knew that it was part of trying to, get the team going. I just think it's hard to follow him in. And you can imagine, like, if you're Jason Demetriou and you've been the assistant coach and that's the voice after Wayne, the great Wayne Bennett, it's pretty hard. And it happens everywhere you go. And again, he was the one who said Demetriou should follow him.
And do you think in the next week or so, with the fact that the South Sydney Rabbitohs have the bye, do you think a lot of this chatter will die down, or do you think it's going to be something that we're going to be hearing for the next 2 weeks?
Depends on those reptiles of the press, whether they decide to stop writing about it and getting all the clicks.
Frothing, aren't they?
I love it. I've got a few ideas of who I'm talking about. But it's the story that's not going to go away, and it's only like a bye is just going to sort of take the heat off him for a bit longer. But I think the fact that Russell's back in town, I think that's going to keep things bubbling along.
That's going to stir the... Well, if you weren't on the edge of your seat for this one, you probably weren't paying too much attention. It was an absolute thriller in New Zealand.
Or you're on a long seat.
Has anyone got a Brock at the break, please?
We're going to send you back to the 18th birthday party. It was incredible
this was
to watch.
Such a good game. Jerry Evans, he just keeps getting better.
Both halfbacks.
They all play together. You see the halves play together, pass to each other, and then bring Turbo into play.
Well, they were the two form teams of the competition going into this game, and they didn't disappoint, did they? Went right down to the wire. How good's our game? Within the last 60 seconds, your team's down by 8 points, and you're not done. They score the Warriors.
And he missed that goal, didn't he, Sean? Did he miss that one?
Yes. He missed a goal, left a mate behind. So with a couple of minutes to go, they score the try
from the sideline.
Yeah.
To level it up.
What did you make of the moment? Josh Aloiai's charge down on Sean Johnson, resulting in a penalty.
Well, do you think this is a byproduct of what happened to Lachlan Ilias?
Absolutely.
But you know what? You can't go. You need to get this right because you saw what happened to Lachlan. It's dangerous. You leave yourself very vulnerable. There was a time there when it all started, you'd have your leg in the air and blokes would be diving at your bottom leg.
They were diving at your plant leg.
Oh, that's right.
Remember how bad that was?
So dangerous. Crazy.
It's where the game is.
For me, that
protecting
wasn't a penalty.
kickers.
For me, that wasn't a penalty.
Yep.
And I'm all for protecting kickers and playmakers. I'd probably go over the top on it. But for me, that wasn't a penalty.
There was another one in.
Because you're taking... He's competing. And when you compete hard, occasionally there's accidents happen. That was just an accident.
Yeah, but it's all right to get penalised for that.
What's that?
It's still all right. Like, if you get it wrong, you need to get penalised. That's part of the game. You don't just get penalised for all the sort of malice things in the game.
The intent, yeah.
Yeah, if you get it wrong, you can still get penalised and, not be hated on. But I just feel like he got it wrong, he hit his leg, and it's just part of the game. You can't do it, it's just too dangerous.
What about Sean Johnson? Like I mentioned before, 8 points behind within 60 seconds to go in the game. He sets up Dallin in the corner, then he kicks the ball, the 2 points from the sideline, and then works his way down the field and earns his team.
He nearly got the field goal in extra time too. He hit it pretty well.
He's in some form. And you mentioned both halfbacks. They're in the twilight of their career, but they're playing as good as they've
Well, it's a key, when you think about our game, how do we keep players into their 30s?
Well, what they're doing with the kicking. We're protecting the kickers. All that sort of stuff keeps the star players on the field.
The longevity of those, of the halfbacks.
Because you can see once, our game actually suits people who are in their middle 30s, but your body just gets worn out. We've just got to find a way, because you can see what they're doing to our game. They do it so well. They're calmer.
I think sports science is huge now, the way they're managing players. We get flogged all year round. Remember those days? Just getting
Your
flogged.
off-season was
You get beat,
flogged.
so you turn up the train on Tuesday and it's like, righto, you got 30 hundreds.
Do you like the fact that it's a draw?
No.
Would you prefer golden?
But
How
I
do you
hate
like golden point to be played
I like
at?
golden point. I like extra time. I'd have golden try. Because from the 70th to the 80th minute, it's so exciting. You've got teams trying to win it. And this game especially, Sean got them back in the game that last couple of minutes. Then we go to golden point and it's 5 in for a field goal. Have golden try. So then you have halfbacks or playmakers who are risk takers and are gamblers and just saying, righto, we're going for the win. And they're using the ball. I think it'd be more exciting.
I don't mind the golden point. We're talking to Joel Kane off air, and what happens though in the middle of golden point is you've got to turn around after 5 minutes. So your first 2 sets are wasted because you're sort of coming out of trouble and getting yourself in a position. So you really only, if there's 2 good teams that don't give a penalty and they don't make an error, you really only get 1 set of 6 to have a shot at goal, at a field goal. And that's most really not enough. Somehow we managed, if we could take the break in the middle out of the game, it would give you actually a couple of sets of 6 to have a shot at field goal, not pretty much 1 set.
Just 2 points in it. The final score on Thursday night. The Roosters coming away with a 22-20 victory over Joey's Knights. It was you were quite nervous throughout that whole match, Joey, especially with Kalyn Ponga looking like he was pretty worse for wear.
When Kalyn was limping, I had a nervous breakdown. He had that hip pointer. We actually got it wrong. We thought he tore his hip flexor, but it was that hip pointer.
It was in that moment right there.
Where he threw everything at Tupa. Geez, this was embarrassing, this try. Just coming in and out of the games, the Knights. This was a disappointing loss. The game was there to be won, right to the last death. This is late in the game, they end up scoring and they marched up field with about a minute to go, and they'd be disappointed the way that game finished.
Mate, the last 2 kicks, Jackson Hastings had a kick and just
chip-bombed it.
Plopped it to the winger, and then the last kick was the hooker, Jaden Browley, who I've never seen kick, just do a little kick out of dummy half. It was like they were just 2 bad plays at that time of game. They did so well to stay
That's the
into
one.
the night.
That's the kick there. 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, they had a chance to win the game. Kalyn Ponga broke the line with the last play and gave them a chance. There was no Knights player supporting him, but there was some controversy around was it a penalty. This is it here. Last play of the game.
It's Ponga on Ponga.
Kalyn breaks the line looking for support. There was no one to be seen, and then is this a penalty?
Did you think it was a penalty? Because
Well,
Adam O'Brien wasn't happy in the post-match
Did he call 6 to go?
What's
6
happening?
again? Or
Just everyone's standing around watching him. And then the last play...
Yeah, Jaden just puts it.
Do you think that they were dudded, Bill?
No, because I see a lot of flops at the moment. You know, Angus Crichton came into the tackle, but you see that especially this year. I think it's a part of the game that the referees have probably taken their eye off a little bit.
How good is it?
He was sensational.
How good
Early
is
in the game, he was great, and then he picked up that hip pointer injury, and it sort of kept him out of the game for a big chunk of it.
25 minutes.
And then obviously the pain relief kicked in, and he sparked back up, and all of a sudden the Knights were a chance to win again.
It was hobbling, and then all of a sudden, 5 minutes into the second half, he just went whack.
Well, because he did receive pain relief at half time.
And after the game, he couldn't walk. they had to pretty much carry him to the showers. So they got a long turnaround the night, so 10-day turnaround. They got the dogs.
He actually was on our flight the next day. And we ran into him at the airport, and he was actually walking quite freely. So he looked totally fine the next.
Okay, I'm
telling
Porkies again. No. It's unlike me to exaggerate, Mr. GST.
But it was concerning there, and it was actually quite remarkable watching him. You could tell how much pain he was in, but he kept on getting up, kept on competing.
During the call, we were like, he has to come off. I was thinking, because we thought he tore his hip flexor. I thought, well, if he keeps playing, he's going to tear it completely. He'll be out for...
Well, he showed his toughness.
Here it is here.
He showed his toughness. Like, he stayed out there.
Yeah, we thought he tore it.
And he even said after the game that he wasn't going to take himself off. So...
What a player. He's just an out-and-out superstar.
He's a good player.
Oh, Lordy Lord.
What are you doing there, Bill?
If he's not there, yeah, what are you going to do
what
there?
About Queensland?
Him or Reece?
How are you going to not play him? Like, I can understand, like Reece Walsh, you have to pick Reece Walsh. He's incredible. How are you going to not pick him?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to do there yet, but there's still plenty of water to flow under the bridge, as you know, Freddie. Like, things can happen, so we'll just wait for another month and let them go and play their footy. Reece has been out for a few weeks. He come back on the weekend. Kalyn's picked up a minor injury, so you don't know.
You're going to pick Reece at fullback and Kalyn at 14?
Honestly, I don't know yet. I don't. It's not my decision. They've got the opportunity to play footy now, and their job is to go and play for their club.
I wouldn't pick either of them.
No.
Who would you pick if you were Queensland?
Not them two. Please don't pick
Kalyn Ponga.
Yes, we can. We get that excitement. State of Origin, you get to start to feel.
It is getting close.
It is getting close.
Yeah, we're only
You're gonna have
over 40 days to go before we go into
about?
so.
All right. Well, the Brisbane Broncos, they retain bragging rights in the Battle of Brisbane. Suncorp Stadium remains theirs after taking down the Dolphins on Friday night, 28 points to 14. Joe, you got big raps on the Broncos at the moment. You're hands down saying they're going to take out the comp.
For me, they're the team to beat. You know what was good the other night? We marvel at their attack. It was their defence. They held them out early. They had so much ball. But then also, their aggressive defence forced errors, and I think they scored 3 tries from hustling defensively for drop balls. They're the team to beat for me.
That was all in the second half too. The first half, it was a couple of unlikely try scorers in Jared Wallace and big Xavier Willison. So it was a try apiece at half time, and then the Stars went to work. That was a brilliant play by Osako. But the Broncos just stayed in the fight for a little bit longer. Hemiso Tabuai-Fidow went off with a hamstring injury, and then they just lost their spark.
4 to 6 weeks for
4 to 6.
Really?
Hemiso.
That bad?
That was the initial report.
This was it here.
And they ruled a penalty.
Yeah.
He was filthy, Corey.
He
wanted
didn't
back on
recover
side.
from that for a while.
I'll tell you what's funny, they took off the quickest bloke in their team. They put on the slowest bloke, Jared Wallace. He scored a try. Straight away, his first action.
What about for the Dolphins? They've got a pretty large casualty ward at the moment, adding Hammer to it as well. Where do you see their place at the moment?
Well, it's always the case, the depth of some clubs. Sean O'Sullivan, who...
This happened last year. The exact same thing happened last year. They had a great start and got some injuries.
They're still building that depth, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it was another impressive performance from the Brisbane Broncos taking that victory. We've got plenty more coming your way this morning on the Sunday Footy Show. We have Chris Lawrence is in the house for the award-winning segment, Turn It Up. That is Joey's segment. He's very prepared for it this week as well. And
in my head it has.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddie in the 8.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.